What is going on, my friends? So this is week 10 of my 12 and 12 Design to Code Challenge. So last episode, I created a design for an e-commerce type site for pixel perfect design resources. If you haven't already watched that video, I would definitely recommend go check that out before you go through this video. That way you know what we're doing. And also, one thing to note is that when I code this design, it's not going to 100% match what I created last week. And the reason for that is because without realizing it, I created a design that is far more complex to code than I had time for within the past week. And actually that very reason is one of the big reasons I think designers should learn how to code, at least understand the basics of it. Because if you're working on a project and you know that you only have say like a month left to get it up and live, then what you're designing may not be feasible in that time frame. Pretty much anything can be coded if you are given enough time, but a lot of times it's just unrealistic and you have to make compromises. So for last week's design, I created it so that there was a banner, a navigation and search bar, and then all the resources listed below. But I did it in sort of a alternating grid system, so there'd be one row of 4, then a big one, and then 4 smaller ones, and then a row of 4, and then a big one on this side, and then 4 smaller ones. So that right there can be done, but it's actually kind of complex, especially when you add in that hover state that I designed to where the asset would grow a little bit and have a shadow underneath, and then the content would roll in. So I actually did not have time to code that. I may revisit it in a later video. So in this video, it's not going to be the exact same grid and it's going to be a different animation, but I am going to show you how to set it all up and have a cool animation come in so the content slides up when you hover over one of the design assets. All right, let's jump on the computer and start coding. All right, guys, so now we are going to dive in and start turning this design into the front end code. So remember when I said in the introduction of this episode that we're not going to be coding this design exactly how I designed it. For example, this big image with the hover animation where it floats and gets bigger, scales up. And we're not going to do this variation of grid. We're just going to do a simple grid and a slide in, simply because I didn't have time to finish this within a week, unfortunately. So I'm doing the next best thing. So just a little bit of setup. I've already gone ahead and opened up this project in Atom, have it set up in CodeKit to compile the Sass that I'm going to be writing for the styling. I'm tracking it in Git. And then I have it open up in Chrome as well. So I made something to help you guys get started. If you go to McKinsey or github.com/McKinseyChild/simple-starter, I have created a simple starter project. And pretty much all it contains is an index.html. And then it has like the HTML structure. And it imports the normalized CDN. We also link the style sheet, as well as we have the meta viewport tag, and we link the JS file as well. I do use Sass in this, and then I also went ahead and set up the README, and there's also the .gitignore that I set up to ignore the CodeKit and the Sass cache directory, which is generated by CodeKit. So if you go ahead and download or clone that, you can get started very quickly. And if you want to see the final code, you can go to github/McKinseyChild/pixel-perfect-design-resource. And that has the code that I used to create this demo application. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. One last thing is I've gone ahead and exported the images from Sketch and added them here. All the images are the assets except for this one right here, which is an SVG of that background pattern. So if we go back to our design, we have this fun little background pattern that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump into Sublime Text, close out of that. Let's see. So I know for sure we're not going to be writing any JS. So I'm going to delete that from the body. And then I'm just going to actually just delete the entire JS directory because the rollover effects we can do in simple CSS. All right, so first off, let's change the title from starter project to, let's do Pixel Perfect Design Resources. All right, then we're importing normalize. We got the style sheet. So we're going to write in Sass, and then CodeKit is going to compile that into the styles.css, which we are linking to right here. So everything is good to go. With Sketch open on this side, I'm just going to have Atom open on this side. And all I want to do really is create the HTML structure. First, let's write a div with the class of banner. And inside of here, we are going to need a wrapper. And then inside of here, let's put the H1 tag and say pixel perfect. And I'm going to add a break so that it drops to the next line and say design resources. So if I save that, go back to Chrome, you can see it's showing up right here. Beautiful. All right, so let's go back to Sketch, open up Atom again. Then below that, we have this navigation with the popular, recent, which are links, and then the search, which is going to be a label for this input. All right, so let's do that. I'm gonna create a div with class of nav. Then we're gonna do a wrapper inside of here as well. And then let's see, I'll do a times 2 and hit tab. I'll do popular. And to do this, by the way, I am using a plugin called Emmet, which allows you to write a times 2 and just hit tab, and it populates all the code for you, which is pretty fantastic. All right, then below here, we're not going to need another link for the search tag, but we want it to be styled the same. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a label, and it's going to be for search. And then we'll just say search inside the label. Then I'm going to do input with the ID of search. And type is going to be a search field. And then let's add a placeholder and say that iPhone 6 Plus template. All right, save that. Let's go back to Chrome, check it out. All right, that's showing up. We got that and that. Beautiful. Back in Sketch. Next, we have this big old grid. All right, so what I'm thinking for this is we will do everything in a big list, actually. So what I'm thinking is let's do UL, so an unordered list with the class of resources. Then inside of here, we are going to need an LI. What all do we need? Let's just create an LI and figure it out. So we're going to need image. So let's do an image, and we'll go to image / I believe I just named it 01.png, 0102. I'm just going to remove the alt tag for now. So I'm going to save that and go check it out. All right, so that is breaking. That is because I typed image instead of images, I believe. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just duplicate that a couple times. Beautiful. Now let's change this to 02, 03. Get some different images in there. Maybe do it one more time with 04. That way we get a full row. Cool. And I am actually just gonna duplicate this whole, all 4 of these a couple times. That way we have something to work with. There we go. And actually this is enough for us to go ahead and start styling. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to open up Sketch again and open up Atom. Now I'm going to go down to the styles.sass file. And the first thing I want to do is create some variables for our colors. So I'm going to do one called main. And for this, I'm going to use a program called Color Snapper 2. If you Google that, it's a fantastic little application that allows you to hit a shortcut and grab any color on your screen. So I'm going to use that to grab the various colors. So this dark gray color I'm going to use as our main color. And then let's grab this secondary gray. And I'll just call that secondary. Then next, let's do the highlight color of that green. If I can select it. So I'll call this one highlight.
And then I'm also going to make one for the white color. We don't really need to do that, but if we have a bunch of FFFs in there and say we need to change it to like a slightly off-white, it'd be much easier just to change the variable than it would to change every single instance of white. All right, and then let's also do star box sizing border box. What this does is it makes it so that the padding doesn't add to the width of our columns. So that way we don't have to do the math ourselves. And then let's do HTML and body, and let's set a body, and let's set a few things. I'm just going to do margin of 0, padding of 0 as well. And then I'm going to do font family. I'm going to do Proxima -Nova. And I'll say Helvetica as a fallback. Helvet. And then I'll just do sans serif. Save that. And actually one thing that I forgot is to add the script tag from Typekit to use the Proxima Nova font. So I'm going to go up to the index file. I'll add a comment, say Typekit embed. All right, so it should be pointed out that this will not work for you if you try to copy this code. It will only work on my account. So I would definitely recommend signing up for Typekit. I think it's like $50 a year for all the various fonts, and you can use them on all your sites. It is a fantastic service. So definitely go check out Typekit. And again, this won't work. You're gonna have to create your own account, or you could just find a free alternative on Google Fonts or something. All right, so back down here. So if we save that, nothing happens, obviously. So let's start out with the banner first. So let's take a look at our design. Let's open up Sketch. So we have this dark gray background with this pattern, and then we have pixel perfect design resources, just big and bold and in your face. So let's open up that Chrome and Atom again. The first thing I want to do is simply write the styles for that banner. So we have the class of banner. So in here, what I want to do is add a background. And I'm going to have the color of the background be that main variable, but I'm also going to add an image. I'm going to go to /images, and then it's a bg-pattern.svg. And then let's do background repeat, repeat. So if I save that, I don't believe anything will actually happen because there's no height or anything set on there just yet. Whoops. Actually, let's go to Chrome. I'm going to open up the console. Let's see if we're getting any errors. So it says failed to load resource styles.css. Interesting. So if we go to styles.css, it is compiling. You know what? I need to update that simple starter thing. Okay, so we need to go to css/styles.css. Save that. There we go. Now if you go back to Chrome, you can take a look. The banner showing up with that background pattern. Looks pretty terrible right now, but we can fix that. Let's target that H1 because if we remember, we're going to do the bulk of the styling based on the height of the pixel perfect design resources. So let's go back to Atom. So first thing we want to do, let's change the color to that white variable. Let's make a text transform uppercase. That way it's all caps. Padding, I'm going to do 2M. Margin, let's just remove the margin. Font size is going to be huge. Let's try 4M for now. And actually, let's just save that and see how it looks. That looks pretty good, actually. The line height is actually a bit high, so let's go line height, maybe 0.85. Save that. There we go. It brings it in tighter together. That looks good. So if we added more padding, say 4M instead, it just adds it on top and bottom. Actually, no, we want 2M and 0 because we don't want it on left and right. And to bring this in, that is what we're going to use the wrapper for. So let's go back under the HTML and body and define what that wrapper class means. So the wrapper is basically going to set a width for our layout. So what we want to do, let's do a width. I'm going to do 1140 pixels. We're going to set a max width of 90%. That way, once it gets below 1440 pixels, it will switch to the max width and just stay at 90% as you scale it down. And then finally, we're going to do margin of 0 and auto. If we save that, the banner comes in a little bit. Same with the navigation, actually. Let's move on to the navigation. Let's see. So back in Sketch, we have just the simple text links, the label styled the same. All right, so let's see. Let's open up Chrome and add them again. Let's target the .nav. So .nav, first off, let's set a background to that secondary variable. And then let's target those A tags. So we're going to do text transform uppercase on these. Text transform. There we go. Spelt it wrong. Let's try a font size of 1.25 em. Let's do a text decoration of none to remove the underline created by the link. Let's change the color to white and let's make it a bold font to match the title. So font size or font weight 700. And then let's just try that for now. Cool, so those links are showing up. We have that slightly lighter gray color. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. If you take a look at this input, I want the input to be the full size. And if we put a padding around all of this stuff, that means only this little sliver would be clickable. So you wouldn't be able to click in and start searching for something. So what I'm thinking instead is I want to do an input and we'll do type equals search. Then inside of here, let's do a background of transparent. If I could spell right, transparent. There we go. What is going on? There we go. I don't want an outline, so let's do outline none, border none. Let's make the color white. That way when you start typing, it's a white color. So the font style, I'm going to do italic. Font size, let's try 1.25 em again. And the font weight, I want this one to be a lighter weight, so I'm going to do 400 instead of 700. So if I save that, the background should go away. There we go. Now what I want to do is go back to the styles.sass. Let's add some padding of 2em and 1em. There we go. So now that pushes the entire thing down and we're able to click in here and just start typing. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see we have this popular recent. The search looks terrible. So let's fix that. Let's go back to the styles.sass. I'm thinking let's just add a label tag to the A. So we're going to add the same styles to both the A tag and the label. Save that, see how it looks. Perfect. So it matches. Let's add some margin right. And let's try 2em. That way it pushes it over. Beautiful. All right, so now we need to do something a little different. For the label, we don't want this to have a margin right. So let's do margin right 0. We do want it to have a border. So let's do border right 1 pixel solid. And we're going to do that highlight color. Because remember, if we go back to Sketch and zoom in, we have this little border between the placeholder and the search button or the search label. All right, so we got that highlight color. Let's save that. Go back to Chrome and check it out. All right, so it's pushed up right against the H. So let's add some padding to fix that. So we'll do padding right And let's try 1M. See how that looks. That's almost there. Let's try maybe 1.5M. Beautiful. That looks great. Okay, so now what I want to do is add a hover effect to change the color of these links when you hover over them. So let's go back up to the A and the label. And I'm going to do &hover. And I'm just going to change the color to that highlight color. Go back to Chrome. So you can obviously see there's an issue with this. The same styling is being applied to the label when it's not really a link. So it doesn't need that highlight when you hover over it. So back on the label, let's do &hover. And I'm just going to say color white. That way it doesn't actually change. That's kind of a hacky way to do it, but it works. Cool. That looked good. Sweet. So the next thing is these resources. So let's tackle those. Let's go down to the bottom. And let's see, we have a UL with a class of resources. Then inside of here, we have li and then image. All right, so let's do .resources. So first thing, let's remove the padding and the margin. And I'm going to say list style of none. That way we don't have the bullet points. So let's save that, go take a look. Beautiful. There's still this white little border between each of the photos for some reason. We'll figure that out. So let's do li. So we're going to target each one of the li items. So let's see. So let's go back to sketch and take a look. We have each one right up against each other in 4 per row. So let's go back to Chrome. Let's do a width of 25%. Let's do a float of left. And let's just actually take a look and see how that looks. All right, so that is working. But the image itself is too big. So what we need to do is go back inside of there. Let's create the image, and then let's set a width of 100% and a max width of 100%. So if we save that, there we go. There's still this border on bottom, and I think I know why. Let's try going to the li. Let's do display of inline block. There we go. So that takes care of that border. Beautiful. And now if we scale it up or down, it scales with it. Obviously we want to add some breakpoints so that it breaks to 3 rows and then 2 and then just 1. But this is looking pretty good. All right, so first thing I want to do is change. I'm going to go back to the index file and just make sure we have different images. And I will fast forward through this so you guys don't have to watch. There we go. Now we got different images for each. Beautiful. So actually what I'm thinking is let's go ahead and create some breakpoints. So I'm going to open up the developer tools in Chrome. That way it gives us this little width dimension when I scale it up and down. That way we can see what breakpoints we need. All right, so let's go down to the bottom in the SAS file. Let's do @media only screen, and let's set a max width of, let's see, maybe like 1250 pixels or something. Max width, let's say 1250 pixels. And inside of here, let's do resources, li. And then I want to change the li width to 33.33%. That way it goes from 4 columns to 3 columns. So let's test it out. Go back to Chrome, scale it down. Beautiful. All right, now probably need another one, maybe like about right here-ish. So 900 pixels. I'm just going to copy all of this and change the max width from 1250 pixels to 900 pixels. And then from the li width from 33 to 50%. That way it has 2 per row. Beautiful. So we have 4, then 3, then 2. Cool. Then we probably also need one about 6. Whoops. 600 pixels or so. So about right here. Yeah, that'd be good. So let's copy that whole thing again. And let's change it from 50% to 100% at 600 pixels. So let's take a look. Beautiful. So our grid is looking pretty good. So let's do some quick responsive stuff for the banner and the nav. First off, I want to make it slightly bigger, the H1 in the banner. So let's go to the H1, make it 5M instead. That looks good. Cool, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy both all of the nav and the banner. Then let's go down to these breakpoints. So I think the size is fine at the 1250, maybe about the 900 breakpoint. We can add in some different styling for the banner. So what I normally do is copy what I wrote above, and then I just delete what I don't need to change. So for example, font size and line height will probably change. Padding we might change, but the text transform and the color will stay the same. All right, so the padding. Actually, let's do the line height first. Let's drop it from 5 to like 3.5. See how that looks. The padding might work fine. Actually, the line height looks good too. We could probably bring in the padding slightly, maybe 1.5M. That looks good. Okay, so the H1 looks good at this size. Navigation, let's see, we're not going to change the text transform. The font size we can probably bring down slightly, maybe 1.1. Let's see how that looks. 1.1 looks good. Text expiration, that font size, font weight. Margin right, we can change that. Let's bring it from 1 to 2. That way it brings it in a bit. We're not going to change the hover state, so let's remove that. The label, actually I don't think we're going to change any of the labels, so let's just remove all of that. All right, now the input. I think the only thing we're going to want to change would be the font size. So let's remove the font weight, and then everything above that will stay the same. So font size, let's match it to 1.1, and then the padding, let's change from 2 on top and bottom to 1 on left and right to just 1 all around. Save that, go take a look. That looks a little bit small. Maybe let's try 1.5 and 1M. That looks better. Maybe 0.5M. There we go, 0.5M brings it in, the input in a bit more. That looks better. Cool, so now at this size it looks good. Then we scale it down to about 900. The formatting changes. Then we probably also need to change it here because you can see the navigation breaks. So once it changes to 1 column, what I'm thinking is the popular and recent, I think it makes more sense just to have the search. That way someone can search for what they want. Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing. So let's go down to the 600 pixel media query. Let's write one for the banner and H1. Let's bring the padding in, maybe not. Let's change the font size. So right now it's 3.5M. Let's try 2.5. So let's save that and go check it out. Beautiful. All right, and the navigation, let's take care of that. So let's do .nav inside of there. Let's target the A tags. So if we go back to our HTML, so we have this .nav inside of here. We have the wrapper. We don't need to worry about that. But what I'm thinking is since the search and the input are not A tags, we can just target the A tags and hide them. So let's go back. Let's do a display of none. Let's try that. All right, so full size, it looks good. Then once you get about to 900 pixels, it breaks. Then again at about 600. Beautiful. So this is pretty much fully responsive now. Dope. Dope. All right. So what I want to do now is set up the rollover states. So when you hover over it, the content would slide in. All right, so let's go back up to the resources. So there's a few more things. Actually, let's go to the index.html and write some HTML to hold the resource info. So let's create a div called resource underscore info. Inside of here, let's make an h2 tag, and I'm just gonna say example, maybe example resource or something. All right, then inside of here, let's do an a tag with class of button. We're just gonna stub out the tag and say view resource. And then let's do a p tag with the class of price. And let's just add like $22 or something. So if we say that, this is gonna mess up our layout. It just adds it underneath the first one. So what we wanna do is hide it and then show it when you hover over it. So first thing, let's go under the li and let's do resource underscore info. All right, so what I want to do is the resource info, let's make it a background. I'm gonna do RGBA, and then for the color, this is something special with Sass. We can choose that highlight color, and then we can just choose an alpha variation of that. So let's do 0.85 to make it slightly opaque. Beautiful. That way the background shows through a little bit. If we go back to Chrome, you can see it's already taken effect. Let's do the rest of the styling. Let's maybe add some padding. Let's try 2M. Let's just do 2M for now. Height, we're going to do 100%. Width, same, 100%. Save that, go take a look. All right, so if you see, it's doing 100% and it's kind of effing everything up. So what we want to do is do 100% of the parent, so the li tag. So to do that, under the li, we need to do a position relative. And under the resource info, what we need to do is a position of absolute. So if we save that, go back to Chrome, I believe, let's see, let's inspect the element, see where it went. Okay, so it's right now it's behind one of the other assets. So what we want to do is add the absolute position of it. So what we're going to do is do top, auto, let's do bottom of 0. Save that. There we go. Now it's sitting right on top of the li. Beautiful. Okay, so let's style the other stuff. Let's go to the h2. Let's do color of the white variable. Maybe font size of 1.5 em. Line height, let's make it line height of 1, and then let's make a text transform of uppercase. Transform. There we go. Let's go back to Chrome, take a look. Beautiful. All right, now let's style that button. So let's get out of the H2. Let's do dot button. So the button's going to need a border. Let's do 2 pixels solid, and let's do the white variable. Let's do some padding, 1em, and let's make it a little bit wider on the left and right, 1.5. Let's make a border radius of 0.5 em. Let's make the text color white. Text decoration, right now it's underlined, so let's do text decoration of none. Text transform, let's make it all transform. I keep misspelling that for some reason. Text transform uppercase. Let's just save that and see how it looks right now. All right, so it's a bit big, so let's do font size 0.9 em. Let's make it bold as well. Font weight 700. And I want to push it down slightly. So let's go up to H2 and do a margin bottom of, well, let's try 1M. There we go. That looks pretty good. So let's style the price. So let's do dot price, and let's do a display of inline. That way it shows up in the same line as the button. Then let's do font weight to make it bold, 700. Let's do color of that dark gray, so the main color. And then let's push it to the left a bit of 1.5M. So if I save that, go back and check it out. That looks good. So right now it's just showing up as is. We don't actually want that. And let's take a look. So we need to change the padding a bit. Let's see, on the resource info, the padding, let's do 2M and let's try 10%. That way it sort of scales with. There we go. Okay, so let's do a few things. First off, to hide this, let's go up to the LI under the resource. Let's do a overflow hidden. I also want to do a transition, transform 0.4S, and then we're going to transition the opacity 0.1S and 0.3S. Then we got position relative. All right, that looks good. Now let's go down to the resource info. And what we're going to do here is under the resource info, I'm going to add opacity of 0. That way it's just hidden. We're going to do a transform of translate Y, capital Y, and then we're going to do 100%. And let's do a transition, transform 0.4S and opacity of 0.1S and 0.3S. So if we save that, it should, let's see, expected expression, invalid line on 67. So we're breaking something. Okay, so I did 2 columns. I shouldn't have done a colon after transform. Let's save that, see if we, there we go. Okay, so now if we inspect it, it's 100% below its parent, which is the LI. So what we want to do is when you hover over it, have it translate and go 100%, so it's on top. So what I'm thinking is we'll go under everything, get out a few tabs, and I'm going to do li colon hover. And what we want to do is the dot resource info. We want to change the opacity to 1. We want to do a transform, translate Y of 0 pixels. That way it brings it back up top. And then let's do a transition, transform of 0.4S and opacity of 0.1S. So if we save that, let's go take a look, see how it works. So nothing is happening. Let's see, figure out what's going on. So let's add a hover state to the LI. That does nothing. I wonder if I'm on the right indentation. I'm not. I think I need to go back one. So let's highlight that and tab it back. There we go. So now when we hover over it, it slides up. Beautiful. I also want to actually go one step further. Let's go to the LI hover and let's target the image. So what I want to do here is transform. Let's make it scale of 1.5. And let's do a transition. Actually, I'm just going to copy this. And let's do 0.4S and the opacity 1S and then 0.3S. That way, when we go over and we scale it, that way the background image grows as well. Beautiful. I love it. Actually, the background image scales on all of these as well. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is simply just copy this design resource, and I'm going to add it to each of these. Then let's break to a next line, paste it in and save it. That way, beautiful. So we got this hover effect coming up over all of them. And actually, I'm just going to copy all 12 of these and go down and duplicate it again. That way we have a bit of them. Beautiful. So let's target that button. Let's add a hover state. So back in the Sass file, let's change the border color. So let's do border 2 pixels solid, and let's change it to that main variable. And then let's change the color to that main variable as well. Beautiful. It's kind of a jarring jump, so let's add a transition on the button. So let's do transition. Let's change all. That way it changes the border and the color. Let's do 0.4s, ease in and out. Beautiful. I'm loving this. Cool. So our application scales as needed. We got this cool little hover effect. I do wish I did have time to make it like this, but it was just a bit more complex than I had time to implement. Honestly, I don't really know how I would implement this. I would have to do a lot of messing around and tweaking and seeing how to get it to work. And the reason for that is because when you think of something dynamically, for example, if we had a Rails application that looped through all of the various assets, we would have to figure out which ones are on the edge, because if you hovered over one and scaled, if you simply did a transform and scaled it up, it would cut off some of the text. So that was one issue I was having. And then the other one was the actual grid. Is we had to figure out the 5th item and then display that differently. And then I believe this was like the 16th item or something. And it was just all around more complex than I had time for, unfortunately. But if we go back to Chrome, we now have this pretty much fully coded. So I think I'm going to end it there.
All right, my friends, that is all for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I will add a link to the GitHub repo and all that in the description. So be sure to check that out. And don't forget to come back next week. I have a new UI design tutorial in the works that you won't want to miss. All right, peace.